What's up everybody, and welcome to the channel. In today's video we're going to take a look at this 2024 Subaru Impreza RS. This one is finished off in magnetite gray metallic, has an MSRP at $31,000. So let's get right into Subaru's hatchback. Underneath the hood of the 2024 Subaru Impreza, you're going to find a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder boxer engine. It's pumping out 182 horsepower with 178 pound-feet of torque, and this is paired to the Lineartronic CVT transmission. Of course, it's going to be paired to the all-wheel drive system. Curb weight is around 3,300 pounds, and it runs on a 16.6 gallon fuel tank, so you're looking at 26 miles per gallon in the city with 33 out on the highway. Overall length is 176.2 inches with a wheelbase at 105.1. Height is 58.3 and width is 70.1 inches. Ground clearance is also going to be 5.1 inches. Onto the styling now with the 2024 Subaru Impreza. This is a pretty cool design for sure, with some nice sharp lines all throughout it. We get a nice set of LED headlights with a little bit of silver and black accents, and I like how it protrudes towards the center of the grille with really sharp body lines. You can see a gloss black trim piece leading towards that Subaru badge, and then plastic material for the mesh with large openings to provide maximum cooling to those radiators. You can also see down below we have a huge opening with active grille shutters behind it to improve efficiency when needed, and you get somewhat of a golf ball texture on this plastic front splitter. You're also going to see LED fog lights, more trim, along with some gloss black trim, and overall the front end has a nice design. Definitely looks like the WRX, which is the more sporty version of the Impreza. Then you can see some sharp body lines throughout the hood, fading their way towards that windshield. On the top of the windshield, you're going to see all of your safety sensors, part of Subaru's EyeSight technology. And overall, I think the car has a pretty good front end design where it flows nicely. At the side profile, you're going to see a set of 18-inch wheels finished off in a gunmetal gray. Matches the paint color very nicely. And you can see some sharp lines around this front fender flare. You're also going to see the RS badge on the front part of the door, and then a pretty aggressive design for the lower rocker panel. You can see some gloss black trim, sharp body lines throughout the lower portion of the doors. Then you get a set of body colored door handles, sharp body line going above them, and then gloss black for the mirror caps. You have an integrated turn signal along with some plastic trim, and then all black trim surrounding the windows. There's also a sunroof up on top with a shark fin antenna in the back. And then the overall side profile, this is a cool looking hatchback, has a pretty normal side profile as you would expect. And then as we make our way in back, you're going to see the curves around the rear fender arch kind of has an edge to it as well, just to give it a little bit more aggression. And then you can see a gloss black spoiler integrated into the roofline with that third brake light. There's some dark black trim surrounding that. Nice set of LED taillights with halogen turn signals. You can see how it's somewhat of a three-dimensional shape, and then we get some pretty nice contours throughout the rear bumper. Get your Subaru badge and backup camera, more badging on the left side, and then more contours throughout the lower side. You can see a pretty cool material and design for this rear diffuser, more of that golf ball texture along the plastic, and then the RS badge on that right side. Overall, once again, kind of a sporty look. Definitely looks like a rugged hatchback. Moving on to the key fob now, the Subaru badge is your unlock. Of course, you have lock button and the trunk release, some silver trim on it as well. Keeping the car locked, however, it does feature the proximity key. So once you grab the door handle, it's going to automatically unlock. We can take a look at the interior. The RS is going to be a pretty sporty trim. You're going to see some nice red accents throughout that interior. And then along the door panel, we get a gray fabric material, some black vinyl along with red stitching, good sized grab handle, window and mirror controls, and a release handle up above that. There's some storage down below with a Harman Kardon audio system, and I like the aluminum pedals the RS is going to give you. You're also going to get power controls for the driver's seat along with lumbar support, and then more of this black fabric. I like this design right in the center, has a really cool texture, complements the red accents very well, and then all the way up towards the black headrest. Spinning around, we get a nice 3-spoke steering wheel, black leather and red stitching. And then now inside the Impreza, keeping my foot on the brake, we can go ahead and fire it up. We're gonna get that massive screen in the center turning on, and then you do also get a center screen along with the analog tach and your analog speedometer. Now in the center screen, we get some vitals like your odometer, miles per hour. You can also see clock up above that. You can configure that using these toggles right here. So if I scroll up and down, you can see information on the top for Sirius, you have your tire pressure, a few more trip information, things like that. Of course your range, and then a few more items are gonna pop up within the screen. On the right side of the steering wheel, we get all the cruise control settings. We have the steering intervention along with your forward pacing, and then our 2 drive modes. You can toggle between those 2. On the left side, we get Bluetooth and audio controls with volume down below. There are a set of paddle shifters on the back of the steering wheel to control the CVT. It will basically pre-select areas in the transmission for gears just to be able to hold a lower RPM or a higher RPM. You can also see windshield wiper controls, all of our headlight controls on the left side, and then down below you can see interior dimming. We have one of the air vents, black plastic throughout the entire dashboard, and then some nice gunmetal silver trim. And then moving to the center infotainment. This is a huge screen, of course all touchscreen. You have all of your different controls for radio. Hitting the home icon, you can see a few different things in here. Your phone connectivity. You can go under a few apps. You have Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. And if we go ahead and exit out of here, up on top, there's a few things that are going to come up. You can see a few vitals within the vehicle, and then any weather data. Now if we toggle this icon right here for car, you have quite a few controls you're able to adjust. I really like how you can even adjust how it's going to accelerate when you are using the radar cruise control. So you can basically let the car kind of drive itself, especially in traffic. We have the brake hold, auto start stop, any driver's assistance you'd like to adjust, then a few more settings from there. Now we have this icon right here, driver profiles you can set up, auto start stop, and then down below you're always going to see you have climate controls. So if you tap this one, it's going to give you more of a full screen design for all the different controls within the car. You can very easily adjust everything within it. And then if I go ahead and put it into reverse, you're going to see that backup camera in the upper portion of the screen. Now I really like, while it doesn't utilize the whole screen, you still get your climate control. So I really like how you can still make some adjustments if you are in reverse while backing up your car. You're also going to see physical buttons on the right and left side for the different temperatures, so you can easily adjust that, front and defrost, volume and tuning, and then just a few more apps within the car. Underneath all that, we have the wireless phone charging pad, which also doubles as storage, a few plugs, and then you get a cool vinyl material for the shift boot. Kind of looks like carbon fiber vinyl, which is pretty neat. You can see the shift select, heated front seats, electronic parking brake, and then 2 cup holders. We do get more of this black vinyl material with red stitching for your armrest, and then a nice amount of storage space underneath it. We also get a glove box, of course, with a pretty typical amount of space. And then one last look at the interior. Pretty similar to all the other Subarus in the current lineup. You got the big screen kind of dominating the center, but a pretty sporty design overall for an affordable car. Now up top, you're going to see a black headliner with a manual sunshade for that sunroof, all of the dome lights, and then your mirror. Moving on to the rear seat space, we can take a look at the door panel, which is similar to the one up front. You even get the vinyl and red stitching. Quite a lot of storage in there as well. Back seats even give you the same red trim, the cool material throughout the inserts, and this can seat 3 people. Now we can also grab this right here, pull this down, and you're gonna get a nice armrest with 2 cup holders, and then there's just 2 USBs up in front. The only real amenity is a little bit of storage up here, so nothing too crazy fancy back here. However, you can also pop these and fold these seats nice and flat for better cargo space. So hopping into the back seat now with the Subaru Impreza. At 5'11", I am sitting back here pretty comfortably. I have like 2 or 3 inches of headroom, and with the driver's seat at my height, I have a lot of knee room and footroom as well. So honestly, this is actually a really practical car, especially for 4 people. Person in the middle might be a little cramped, but honestly, this is pretty nice and roomy. Seats don't recline, but they're at a pretty good angle. Lots of glass back here to make you feel pretty roomy. So honestly, this is a pretty good small hatchback with plenty of space for people. Moving on to the cargo area, there's a button underneath the Subaru badge. We can press that, open it up, and manually lift it. You have a pretty good sized trunk space in this hatchback. There's even storage cubbies on the left side along with the right side. There's a privacy cover to give you that nice feature. And then the bottom of the floor you can lift up, and there's hidden storage space and all of your tire changing equipment. So it seems to be a pretty roomy car. From back here, you can even pull this cover out of the way, and with it completely out, you can just see how much more space there is. And even from back here, we can easily pop these levers and then push these seats down and get you even more storage area. If we go through the side door, they fold down nice and flat, and of course, being a hatchback, you have all the space up to the ceiling. So this is definitely a very practical car. All right, guys, we are setting off now in the Impreza. So using a CVT with paddle shifters, it's interesting. It's basically a cool way to hold revs, I would say. There's obviously no gears in a CVT. However, there are predetermined sections that the belt within the transmission will go within these gears. So kind of cool that they've done that. It works okay. I highly doubt anybody would actually use the paddle shifters in this car unless maybe you're just going up a dirt trail or something like that. But if we go back into the normal mode and everything, it's a pretty normal car to drive, I would say. There's nothing all too fancy about it. The technology does work really well. Now we're on some back roads, so the lane keeping and steering intervention may not work all the time due to the lanes, but when you're on the highway, it works really well. It'll follow the lane perfectly, the distance pacing and everything, I'm really impressed with. So the eyesight system and all their tech does a great job just kind of driving by itself, especially when you're on the highway. You can kind of just sit back and relax, and the car is going to stay in a lane for you very well. It's not even going to wander or anything. So I really like that technology. Visibility is really good in the car. You have a huge windshield. Of course, the extra pieces of glass really make the front view fantastic. And even over your right and left shoulders, really no blind spots. This is a normal car to be in, just feels very open. One thing that impressed me is how smooth this drives. You know, it's not a crazy expensive car, 31 grand. The suspension is really soft. It's just super comfortable to drive in this car. And the seats are very nice and padded. There's a lot of squish to that. I mean, it's actually really nice to be in. I'm gonna take this on a mountain trip this weekend, drive probably a full tank of gas in 2 days, and I'm not sweating at all. I think it's gonna be just a comfortable trip, just cruising in this car. You have really good leg room, arm room, everything like that. It just feels like a comfortable car. So I wasn't expecting it to feel just that nice and comfortable. Road noise and wind noise is not bad either. It's pretty decently quiet on the highway. You do hear the engine. You know, if you have to floor it or something, getting up to speed, being the CVT, it's kind of a little bit of a noisy engine, but nothing crazy if you're keeping the revs under 3,000. It's pretty normal and comfortable to live with. The tech also works pretty nice for the interior. It's not too difficult to get used to it, and everything's big enough to where, while being touchscreen, you don't have to, like, you know, kind of be bouncing around trying to find everything. So the screen is a pretty nice integration. So it seems like kind of just a decent car just to drive around and rack some miles up. You know, the brakes seem to do a good job coming to a standstill. It's not necessarily a fast car. The two drive modes, I mean, it makes it a little bit more aggressive when you're in the S mode versus the I mode, but, you know, it's not a sports car. Pretty solid going over some big bumps like that. And while it only has 100-something horsepower, it's not fast. It's peppy enough, I'd say, for the typical person just getting up to some speed. Even getting on the highway, I didn't really have any issues. So it seems like a normal power plant for just kind of the typical person looking to get from point A to point B. And I think, yeah, the smoothness of the way it drives, the suspension, and just the comfort level, especially with the power seats and stuff like that, I wasn't expecting it to be that smooth. So smooth car to drive for sure, very roomy and practical, and just kind of an easy car to drive. Alright, so my honest thoughts with this Subaru Impreza. This is the first time I've driven a normal Impreza. I've been around the WRXs, the STIs quite a lot, so I know what those are. This definitely feels the same as like a WRX in the sense of the interior looks the same for the dash. It seems like the current Subaru lineup, the dash all looks the same. So it's a very familiar car if you're used to any modern Subaru, I would say. I think the biggest thing to me that stood out is the fact that it's very solid. And I was expecting this to feel kind of like an economy car to where, you know, it's a little cheap feeling, I would say. But you go over big bumps, you go on the highway, it feels pretty smooth and solid. So I'm glad to see that. It seems like a very well built car, nice and insulated from the elements around you. So not too bad. Now acceleration, definitely not a fast car. That's up to 40, 50, and we're really stressing the engine a little bit. So needless to say, you know, if you want a more peppy Subaru, their turbo engines that are available in other models, of course, are really quick. So those are pretty sweet to see if you want that. This is still adequate. At least you can just get up to speed and drive it like normal. But, you know, this one with that kind of rugged design with an all-wheel drive system, you know this is a car that, while it's a car, you could still do some off-pavement driving if you're into the adventure lifestyle. A lot of Subaru owners, of course, are camping, kayaking, mountain biking, things like that. And this is a car where you can put those racks on it, you know, bring your toys with you, go out into the wilderness and do some things and still enjoy a car. You know, not everybody wants to get maybe an Outback or a Forester, which might be a little bigger for their taste or something like that, maybe a little bit more expensive. So it seems like the Impreza is kind of like a hatchback car, but with a little bit of crossover stuff into it. So it's got somewhat of a rugged aspect to it. So it's an interesting concept, I would say, and it seems, obviously people do like these, people buy them. Seems like that crossover of a sedan, a small crossover SUV, and a hatchback all kind of in one, to where it's a semi-rugged car. So there's some things to it that I think a lot of owners are going to like, and I think the best thing of it all, you can just drive it, it's comfortable, it's quiet, it's got all the technology that works really well. Lane keeping, the steering assist, I was very, very impressed. You literally do it, it doesn't wander. I've seen other cars that cost more than this, honestly, that are wandering in the lane, slowing down when you turn, just really annoying. This does a really good job just driving nicely. So I think that is about it. Not all too much to say. There's nothing above and beyond fancy with this. While the screen's cool, everything else in here I wouldn't say is anything different from a car 10 years ago. So it's not like it's loaded with fancy aspects or anything luxurious like a European car or anything like that. So I think if you're looking for a car that's nothing hard to figure out, just a car basically, this is something to go for. It's nice to be in, it does the job, and you have enough safety technology and modern technology to feel like a normal car without going overboard in just fancy tech or anything like that. So not a bad option for a typical buyer who's just looking for point A to point B, comfort, got some space, and a pretty affordable price. So anyway, there is the 2024 Subaru Impreza, the RS. Not a bad option for someone looking for a car like this. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, stay tuned for plenty more content, and I'll see you all in the next video.